geeks of the world, and welcome to the Will Dogs Games and Wrestling. The Luchador mask is on, and you know what time it is. This week we had a Raw that was in a large part very uneventful. Raw opened in Chicago with Shane McMahon. Now, if anything shows what a great crowd Chicago is, it is the pop they gave for Shane McMahon. So first, if you are in Chicago, let me thank you personally for making such a great crowd for these wrestling shows. Now, Shane came out and addressed the match with Taker, and what Vince said last week. Taker's gong hit, and it wasn't Taker, it was Vince who came out. Now, if you want cheap heat, that's how you get cheap heat. Everybody wants to see Taker, and it's Vince McMahon. Nobody wants to see that. So, Vince came out to try and further the storyline, but the crowd was having none of it. They even hit him with the CM Punk chant, which was really cool. He even had to address it because it was so loud. And he was like, oh, how long is this going to go on? And he let it go for a minute, and then it stopped. He's like, okay, not that long, I see. All right. And to me, it's amazing that Punk has been gone for 2 years now, and wrestling fans still want to see him. I was a huge Punk mark when he was with the company, but I feel it is time to move on. All right. So this segment really didn't further the storyline too much, and it tried, it tried to, but I'm really forced to move on from this because there's really nothing to say. Another big news coming out of Raw was heel turn for Chris Jericho. Y2AJ had a match with New Day for the tag titles, and they failed to pick him up. And Chris went over to AJ Styles to kind of help him up, and then hit him with the Codebreaker. Now, this obviously sets up a Chris Jericho AJ Styles match for WrestleMania, and I couldn't be more excited. Jericho's great about, putting over new talent, and while AJ Styles isn't new to the wrestling world, he's new to the WWE world, and he needs that big win. And a win over Jericho would really do that for him, and Jericho is obviously going to job in this one. Last bit of huge news coming out of Raw was the return of Sami Zayn. Now, Sami Zayn hasn't been seen since last year. He had a match against John Cena for the U.S. title during the Open Challenge. And he hurt his shoulder during that match, and he's been on the shelf recovering. So, Kevin Owens was having a match with Neville, and right after Owens picked up the victory, who comes out but Sami Zayn? Now, this sets up a great IC title match for Mania. I've heard that they're going to add more people to this match, the Mania match, but the big storyline in that match is obviously going to be Owens and Zayn, because they have a huge history through NXT, battling for that NXT title. Now, also, Ambrose had a great match with Bray Wyatt, but the story was after the match. Triple H came out, and there was a bit of a confrontation with Wyatt. Now, it almost looked to me like they're sowing the seeds a little bit for a Bray Wyatt face turn, which I'm all for. I think that would be great. Now, I think that after Triple H is out of this title picture, either Reigns picks up the title or whoever they add to the match picks up the title. Triple H isn't walking out of Mania with the title. He better not. After that's over with, a Bray Wyatt program between H and Bray Wyatt, as long as he puts over Wyatt, would be great. So, after the whole thing, it looked like he was going to go after Ambrose, who was lying on the mat still. And Ambrose got a quick dirty deeds in on him to close the show. This is the go-home show before Roadblock. But by WWE's booking, usually the person standing tall going into an event like that is not walking home with the title at the event. So unfortunately, for those of you like me who want to see a Ambrose v. Reigns title match at Mania, probably not going to happen. Alright, other than that, some quick notes. Dolph Ziggler is still being crapped on by the Authority. Surprise, surprise. So, he was talking with Stephanie and reminded her that 2 years ago at Survivor Series, his team won and they were supposed to be gone. That was a stipulation, but somehow they're still here. And he also reminded her that he almost single-handedly got rid of them because most of his other team had been eliminated, and he took out most of the opposing team. So Steph followed this up by booking him in a 3-on-1 match elimination style. I'm not a big fan of these matches. I didn't like it when they did this to Daniel Bryan. It seems to bury talent unless you're going to let them win the match. It buries him. It's sad to see them doing this to Ziggler. Also, Ryback continued his I'm a singles wrestler storyline by confronting Kalisto about being a lucha dragon. And he was saying the only way up in WWE is by yourself, on your own. He had a decent match with Curtis Axel as well. The rest of the social outcasts were out there. And he kind of furthered the storyline there. Overall, I'd say not a great show this week. It didn't get me any more or less excited for Roadblock or Mania, and I expect more during this time of year. Generally, these Raws are some of the best, but this year seems lackluster to me. So hopefully next week will be better, and I'll have more to say and more storyline progression to talk about. So that's where we'll end this week. So remember, whatever your geek is, be sure to let your geek out.